thank you so much for having us. Great to be here. Right, so I'll talk for a minute and then I'll turn it over to some of the other people we have representing the Green Bay Police Department today. And then maybe I can wrap it up at the very end with a couple of helpful hints for people that are in high school and things that I wish people would have told me when I was in high school back in the UP. Originally, I'm from Iron Mountain, Michigan. So any good Upers on the line, I just want to give a quick shout out to anybody from north of the border. Good to hear. Good to know that you're here. Think about policing as a career. In the back of your mind, if you've thought about even a little bit that this is a cool job, let me tell you what, this is the coolest job ever. I can't imagine having done anything else. I made the right decision when I joined policing at age 25. As I said, I grew up in the UP, went to school at Marquette for a little while, transferred to UC San Diego, and I joined the Los Angeles Police Department in 1988, just about 33 years ago. And I did 27 years with the Los Angeles Police Department, had a blast, got to see all the cool things that were happening in LA, from OJ to all the big events that happened on the world stage in Los Angeles. And then in 2016, I was lucky enough to be selected to be the chief of police at Green Bay. And so I've been here for just a little bit over 5 years. Love being in Green Bay. It's a really interesting place. It's a really fun place. It's a great job being a police officer. We are hiring, and we're going to continue to hire and look for good quality people that want to be police officers. And I tell you, the time to start thinking about it is now, because I see a lot of young people make big mistakes when they're in high school that they don't think are going to affect them in the long term. However, they do affect them in the long term. And many times we'll have somebody that looks like they'd be a good applicant, and we find out they did something really dumb in high school, and all of a sudden they don't qualify for being a police officer, and they got to do something else. So think about what you're doing when it comes to taking drugs or taking other people's prescription, or stealing things from other people, because what we look for when we hire people are people of good character. On a police department the size of Green Bay, there are so many different jobs. There's so many different things you can do, from regular patrol officer to canine handler, which is an officer that goes out with a dog, to school resource officer. I'm sure you're all familiar with their school resource officers. We have 11 of them. To a supervisor, to field training officer. We have a dive unit where we do underwater diving, rescue, search, that type of thing. We have a SWAT team of about 20 officers. We are welcoming to men, women, minorities, LGBTQ. We do not discriminate in any way. So in the Green Bay Police Department, you can be anything you want to be. And I have 2 rules for my cops, and that is work hard and treat people right. And if you work hard, you're going to get ahead in the police department. You're going to get ahead in life. But that's the key. And I tell my kids that the key to getting ahead is working hard. And I always like to think that I always tried to be the hardest working guy in whatever division or unit or assignment I had. I always wanted to be the hardest working guy. I knew I wasn't going to be the best looking. I knew I was probably not going to be the smartest, but I knew that I could always be the hardest working, because no one can take that away from me. So that's kind of how I got here, roundabout way. I got my bachelor's degree, and then I joined the police department. Once I was on the department for about 5 years, I went back to school and got a master's degree, which helped me promote on the LAPD, and it certainly helped me get this great job of a lifetime working in the city of Green Bay. So I'm going to toss it to Commander Warych, if you're on, Kevin Warych.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us. My name's Kevin Warych. I'm the operations commander. Like the chief said, all that opportunity that the Green Bay Police Department offers, that division is under majority of that. Those specialty positions are under the operations division. So I have the honor of leading that division and working every day, trying to be the hardest worker, harder than working than the chief, right? To make sure that this place works. Probably not if you ask the chief, but really just a pleasure to work here, and very honored to work in the Green Bay community. We're always hiring, like the chief said, but our passion and the path of any law enforcement agency going forward, in my opinion, is connecting with the community and engaging the community and working to ensure that the demographics of the police department match the demographics of the community that we serve. And that's what Captain Balza and his crew will talk about in their hiring practice. But as a police department, we're consistently working for the community, not against. There's a lot of things in the news, social media, that really provide those social barriers for policing. And I can confidently say the Green Bay Police Department works every day to overcome those barriers, to engage the community with the most important goal of really building that community trust and respect and legitimacy. So it's important that, you know, the people see that, that we do that. You know, sometimes we probably don't publicize ourselves enough, but it is really the greatest job in the world. There is no other job for me, and really encourage anybody and everybody to look at this profession, at least give it an open mind. So I'll turn it over to Captain Balza and his staff to talk about hiring.
Lieutenant Buth is on here. He'll probably go into a little bit more of the hiring stuff. That is under professional standards, but it's so specialized that Lieutenant Buth is the one that monitors that on a day-to-day basis, what our needs are, our applicants. It's a tireless, always open process of trying to find the best candidates for the Green Bay Police Department. My stuff, I started here in 1992. I'm a 1987 graduate of UWGB. Went out in the business world for a little bit, decided that that really wasn't probably the best for me. Went back and pursued this. Went to Fox Valley Tech to get my police certifications to become a police officer. If there's anything that I would suggest to younger people is always remember there's the more education you have, the more experiences you have, the more opportunities that you try out, the better you'd be. So I did a number of years in patrol here, different shifts. Probably one of the biggest passions of my life is field training. I've been in a field training program since 1998, and I've been the commander of the FTO program since 2007. Just watching how people contribute to stuff, how the program has expanded, the successes of the officers that have went through there, who've went off to all sorts of different assignments, different promotions, different areas, different career successes, has been one of the best parts of my career. The second best part of my career, or maybe a tie for first place, has been professional standards. I decided along the way through experience, I never would have guessed that I would have wound up here, that I had a passion for this. Went back and got my master's degree through UW-Platteville with an emphasis on different aspects of professional standards type investigations, legal issues, and field training that I was able, they were able to work with me and tailor my career on. So since 2016, I've been in professional standards. I had to submit an application. I had an interview with our commanders at the time to get this position. This position has also been probably the best part of my life, or best part of my career here for sure. It's challenging. It's different every day. It's very, very, very detail oriented. I've been so fortunate to find two things that I have a passion for and be able to both maintain that and watch things grow and expand here at the police department. So professional standards includes all things of internal affairs. We've had a number of challenges with that over the last 5 years, but working with the people, the different entities, outside agencies, attorneys, and so forth has been absolutely fascinating and rewarding. The background, the hiring part of it has been exhilarating, changing, adapting, and Lieutenant Buth will get into how that's adapted from just setting a test date and expecting people to show up and pretty much throw themselves at us to what we do today to recruit and accommodate people for hiring. Additionally, for a number of years, training was through here, watching the different technologies, different trainings, different focuses, adapting to what the community wants, from being pretty much just from more the mechanical aspects of it to the more thinking part of it, the de-escalation, the what we adapt to whatever the community wants of us. And that's been a huge challenge and hugely enjoyable in my career as well. Doing the same thing every day would not be a job that I would want to do. So being able to adapt, being able to work with people, being able to represent what the community wants us to do has been absolutely exhilarating, and it's been a wonderful career. So if I would give any advice, get an education, get well-rounded, try different experiences here, and find your passion. So with that, the hiring, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Buth.
Hi, everyone. This is Lieutenant Buth. I've been with Green Bay for roughly about 28 years. I first started out going to Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, where I got my bachelor's degree, or excuse me, my associate's degree in police science. And then I transferred to Northern Michigan University, where I got a bachelor's degree, and then was hired by Green Bay. I can tell you that Green Bay by far is probably one of the best departments to work for. I have had an absolutely rewarding career as I kind of close out towards the end, getting near retirement. I've been all over the department. I've worked as a field training officer, a patrol officer on night shift, afternoon shift, day shift. I've been a supervisor and a field training supervisor. And my current position is with professional standards. Now, professional standards with the city of Green Bay covers a couple of different areas. One would be the internal affairs side of things. Another thing would be recruitment and retention. Now, recruitment is where we would go out and look for people to fill positions as police officers as we have openings on the department. Now, over the past 4 or 5 years, we've had a large number of retirements, which has kept myself and Captain Balza very busy. With going around to different technical colleges and holding public testing for people to come in and go through our process. The process of becoming a police officer consists of multiple steps that you would need to go through. Now, the first step is a written test. That written test is basically we show a video where you watch the video, and then you write a short 1-page report of what you observed on the video. Kind of like some of the reports that many of you have done for different classes over the years. Then we end up doing a written, like a Scantron report, where we ask all kinds of multiple choice, true, false questions about different knowledge that you may have as for a police career that you may have had through classes. Some of it is just general civics type questions. If you pass through those processes, we move on to the next step, which is a oral interview. Now, how we do those is sometimes we do them with a panel of officers, including myself, Captain Balza, and 2 other officers. And we'll have you come in and we ask you a couple of questions to see how why you want to be a police officer, what have you done to prepare yourself to be a police officer, and that type of thing. As you get through that, the next step would be a background investigation. Now, our background investigations, obviously because of the position that you are applying for, are pretty extensive. Now, we will go into your background. We go and talk to teachers, neighbors, different, your previous employers, that type of stuff, and just to see what type of a person you are, if your fit is good for our organization and that type of thing. And then after that, we put a report together. Those reports are typically about 11 to 14 pages long, and we send those to Chief Smith. He gets to sit down and take some time to read through the background investigation. And if he feels you're a good fit, he will give us the thumbs up, and then we will send that report to the Police and Fire Commission. Now, the Police and Fire Commission is a group of individuals from throughout the community. Many of them are retired human resources directors from large businesses around the area. We've had them from Schneider National in the past, from Procter and Gamble, Wisconsin Public Service. We also have some community leaders who are on that board. We have, I believe there is a pastor that is on that board as well. So it's a cross section of our community that's on that board. So what they will do is they will schedule a second interview with you. And then what happens is you come into that interview, they ask you a couple of questions in the interview. Again, why do you want to be a police officer with the city of Green Bay? What have you done to prepare yourself to be an officer with the city of Green Bay? And then they'll ask you a couple different situational questions. If they like what they hear and they give you the thumbs up, then what I do is I call you back and we set up three more steps that you have to go through. One is a physical. That is typically, if any of you have played sports in the past, it's very similar to a physical that you go through for sports. Secondly, we have you go through a polygraph exam. And then we, excuse me for a second, there. Okay, then we send you through the polygraph exam. That is with a polygraph examiner who is in an office out of Brookfield, Wisconsin, down by Milwaukee. Once you're finished with that, then you go through a psychological exam. They will, all three of those tests you'll go through and over the course of a week. And then if everything comes out well with that, what happens is we call you and give you a offer of employment. And we set a swear-in date. So that swear-in date, we have a ceremony where the mayor is there. We call in different community leaders that come in. You have your parents, your family, all that type of stuff all come to this big swearing-in event. And then we will swear you in. And then at that point, after you're sworn in, you go into what is called the Green Bay Police Department's mini academy. And that is basically about a month-long period where we are showing you how to run our computer programs, how to get logged in the squad car. And then we run you through a couple of different scenarios of things that officers that have worked at our department have gone through in the past, different scenarios out on the street that we've seen to try to help you as you go along through your career, that it's not the first time when you run into something on the road, it's not the first time. So you've had a couple of reps of seeing different things and how other older, more seasoned officers have handled these situations in the past. Once you're finished with that month-long period, then you go into the field training officer program. That program is about a year long from the date that you're sworn in, and you ride with a field training officer for about 4 to 5 months, and they will teach you everything they have learned over the course of their careers to help you go out on the road and be an officer and work out on your own in a patrol car. That process, once you get through that first 4 to 5 months, then you go out and you're on your own. You're in a police car by yourself, handling calls that are sent to you from dispatch. And that's where all of our officers start out as patrol officers. And then over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, you are allowed to apply out to different positions throughout the department, whether that be SWAT, canine unit, school resource officers, that type of thing. So that is, I oversee all of that and make sure everything runs smoothly. Getting officers who work with me anything that they need to make sure that our program runs seamlessly and allows for our new officers to get the best experiences they can get, so it starts their career off in a positive direction. And with that, that basically is what my job entails.
All right, that is a very complete hiring process. Wow. And that year of that field training, what a great opportunity for new officers to learn from those experienced officers before they retire, like you were just talking about. Your experience was also in the canine division, I believe. So can you talk maybe a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm also supervisor of the Green Bay Police Department's canine unit. Our police department consists of 5 police canine dogs, and each one of our handlers, what happens is after 3 years of being on the department, they can apply to be a canine officer. And that is a position that you have to go through an interview for. And then we select candidates based on how they perform in those interviews, and what their experiences are that they've had in their career up to that point. Once those canine handlers are selected, we send them to a canine training school. Now that school there's multiple schools all around the country. We have recently used one that was in Kansas. So what we would do is we would send our canine handlers down to this kennel in Kansas. They would select their dog while they're down there, and then they train with those dogs for anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, and they train with them every single day. Those dogs literally sleep in the room that they're assigned right with them, and they so that those dogs bond really tight with these officers, and they start learning commands, and it's a trust thing between the dog and the handler. They have to learn to start trusting each other, and over that period of time, they train, get to know each other, and they learn different commands that the handlers use on the job out on the street. Then after that initial training period, the canines come back with their handlers, and then they go out on the road and they start answering calls and doing different types of canine calls and that type of thing. We have 2 different types of dogs at the Green Bay Police Department. We have all 5 of our dogs are what are called patrol trained, which means they have the ability to track people, suspects that might run from the police, or track elderly people that may get lost, or young children that may get lost. They have the ability to do that. They also have one specialty that each of them are focused in on. We have one dog that is a explosives detection dog. Now, that dog, he can detect any type of explosives. They go off to specialized training in addition to their initial training to learn how to detect explosives. His primary, at least for the city of Green Bay, one of the primary duties for that canine is you will see him at Green Bay Packer games. And he also, for Super Bowls and for Badger games and stuff like that, those agencies will contact us and ask us if we can send the handler and our explosives dog down to help them out with their events, typically sniffing packages and stuff like that to make sure that nobody's sending any type of explosives into the stadium and that type of thing. Then we also have our other canines, our 4 other canines are all patrol and narcotics detection dogs, where they sniff out narcotics, different types of drugs out on the street if somebody may be hiding them in a car or in a building or something like that. And they need to have a dog come in and try to sniff that stuff out to find it. Those are the dogs that they would call to come in and do that. One of the unique things about canines is that you cannot cross-train them narcotics and explosives. So you could not have a dog that does explosives and narcotics. It can only be one or the other. So that's why our unit is somewhat split into 2 different sections into what their specialty is. And But we have, because of the use of our dogs for the narcotics side of things, we have more narcotics dogs than we do explosives dogs. All of our canines are funded by the community. So when we need a new canine, if one retires, they typically have a working span of about 7 to 8 years. We have um, we have had multiple German Shepherds in the past. We've had what are called a Malinois. A Malinois is from typically they come from overseas, from usually over in Holland is where they come from. They're kind of a cross between a German Shepherd and a Doberman. You can definitely tell the difference between the two dogs. The German Shepherd is much more laid back. They're much more of a hardy bone structure, and they tend to be a little bit can get through the abuses of being a police dog. Then you have a Malinois, who is a very high-strung dog. Sometimes if you ever see a Malinois, they literally, when they know they're going to work, they shake. They will literally shake because they're so high-strung, and they have such fast twitch muscle tone to them. So usually the lifespan for a Malinois is a little bit longer than a German Shepherd. You're looking at about 12 years for a German Shepherd, and usually about 13 years for a Malinois. Their career working span is usually only about 7 to 8 years, simply because of everything they go through out on the street. They get a lot of pressure as far as being out and working and that type of stuff. And I'm sure all of you can understand what they go through as a police dog. We usually get our dogs when they are about anywhere between 24 and 36 months old. So somewhere between 2 to 3 years old. The reason we get them at that age is typically if you've ever had a dog before and you see how they are as puppies versus as an adult dog, they are a lot of fun to play with when they're little. But as they get older, when they get to about 24 months, that's when they start getting at the best age to teach them different skills, teach them different things that they need to get repetitively, so they're very good out on the road. And so that is kind of how the canine unit runs. My job with the canine unit is to supervise and make sure that the dogs are getting their training, that the handlers are getting everything they need to make their dogs the best canines in the city. And that entails making sure they're getting their shots when they're supposed to, getting their vet visits, making sure that they're getting their training when they're supposed to, and scheduling that training out a year in advance so that the handlers can schedule their family time and their family lives around their training. All of our dogs live with their families. They live in the house with their families. These dogs are, when they're home, the officers try to keep things quiet for them and let them have a family life and bond with everybody within their family. Because when they're out on the road, they're out on the road working, and they work very hard out on the road. So that's kind of the canine unit in a nutshell. Okay. So there you have it.
Wonderful. I believe we have some questions. Allison.
Super. It looks like one of them was answered, but I also had that same question, Jessica, about the hiring process in other cities. Is it similar? And it looks like it's usually can be different. So if you wanted to just elaborate.
Yeah, it is similar. There is no state mandate that states exactly you have to do this, with the exception of 3 things. The state of Wisconsin has a law in place that all of us, every department in the state, must do a polygraph exam, a psychological exam, and a physical exam. and we must do a background investigation on you. Beyond that, they make suggestions of what we should do, but most agencies follow a similar pattern to ours. One of the things that we do not do, that we used to do a physical agility test where we'd make you run a half mile within 12 minutes, and we would make you do push-ups and sit-ups and that type of thing. We no longer do that. And the reason that we no longer do that is in the state of Wisconsin, all police officers must be certified by the state of Wisconsin. And how they do that is all the technical colleges around the state of Wisconsin have what is called a 720-hour academy. Every person who becomes a police officer must pass through that academy, and they have to pass it with passing grades. So now you can go through that academy on your own, and you would be considered a self-sponsored candidate. Or you can get hired by a police department, and they will put you through the police academy, and you would get paid while you're going through the academy. But that academy runs exactly what it's called, 720 hours. And that covers everything you will learn in that class. Conflict resolution, how to calm people down when they're having a conflict or that type of thing. You'll learn the firearm stuff, how to shoot your handgun, when you can use it, when you can't use it, how to handcuff people without injuring them, how to drive your emergency vehicle, your police car, how to drive that with what's called due regard. And due regard is a concept of basically, are you driving your vehicle in a manner that doesn't make the situation that you're going to much more dangerous for the public around you? And you will learn different communication skills for different types of situations that you might be confronted with as a police officer. They also have a physical agility portion that is involved in the academy. So you have to pass that physical agility to graduate from the academy. So that's part of the reason why we eliminated that out of our hiring process, because it's repetitive to what was going on at the police academy.
Sure. I have some questions, but I do want to respect our time and
Absolutely.
okay. So this is just an Allison question of someone who has not gone through a Fox Valley or NWTC program, they can apply if they're able to, they watch the video, do the written test, and pass the civics portion and continue on. Would they then go to NWT or Fox Valley, or is it the other way around?
There is two different ways that it can be done. If you can, with Green Bay, you can apply without having been through the academy. Any general citizen, the only requirement that we have is that you have 60 college credits. That's all you have to have
Gotcha.
to get to take our test.
Okay.
Now, 60 college credits does not mean that it has to be in a police science or law enforcement program. You could have 60 college credits in history, 60 college credits in any major. We have officers who work for us that have master's degrees in architecture. We have, they just decided that after architecture wasn't for them, they decided they wanted to be a police officer, and they're working for us now. We have people with physical, who have worked as physical trainers before. We've got people with, like I said, history degrees, you name it. So
okay.
once
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you just need 60 college credits to take the test.